Okay, uh, Journey to Teach airs Chapter 3, Creating an Environment for Learning. It starts with an epigraph, a quote by W.H. Auden, and when he occupies a college, truth is replaced by useful knowledge. A large part of the work of teaching is constructing the laboratory for learning. It must be sufficiently broad and varied to challenge a range of interests and abilities, and yet focused enough to offer students some coherent rhythms and goals, not rhymes. The learning environment is a complex living reflection of a teacher's values. When you walk into some people's spaces, you are embraced with an identifiable feeling. Harriet and Ephraim's house always fills me with tranquility. To get there, I have to follow a stone path that winds past a gate and through night lilies and mimosas and hibiscus. I'm assuming mimosas are not just a drink. Looks like a flower. And so I feel that I'm discovering a little cottage in the woods rather than returning to a big city basement flat. Inside, everything is neat and serene. Surfaces are wood and tile. Jars are filled with herbs and spices. I sleep on a cotton mat covered with a richly colored print under a beautiful canopy. Paintings, masks, prints, and sketches are arranged subtly on walls and shelves, and they evoke images of China. The bathroom is filled with ferns, and the extra large tub is sunk into a wood frame surrounded by oils and bath salts. The space is calm. It would be difficult even for me to be loud or speedy here. I am touched with a sense of peacefulness and healing. BJ's apartment honors the work and intentions of young children. Tiny furniture is everywhere, including a table and sofa, make believe sink and kitchen, and adorable little rocking chairs. There are a climbing frame, two easels, a shelf of blocks, and a cozy reading corner with lots of books and pillows. A large cardboard packing box has been cut into a perfect playhouse for 3-year-olds, and the walls are dominated by children's art. Every light switch has a clever extension so that a young child can control it, and near the floor sits a little half refrigerator where juice and fruit and yogurt are easily available. A child-proof fence encircles the stove in the kitchen, while a movable 3-step staircase provides easy access to the sink or toilet in the bathroom. This is a place where preschoolers can be safe and yet powerful. It's an inviting space, enabling space for threes. At BJ's, the message is be a kid. Coretta's house speaks of efficiency, utility, and the importance of Jesus in her life. She lives here with her husband, several grown children, and many grandchildren. She's always prepared to feed a crowd, especially everything's clean, polished, and gleaming, and the invocation to remove your shoes is a stark and symbolic reminder to leave the city streets behind. One small room in the basement is finished with wood paneling and designed as a chapel. Small pews pushed close together, an altar in the front, hymnals, and Bibles everywhere. Coretta's house invites you to pray. Finally, Malcolm and Sue's place is dominated by the kitchen. It is the physical and social center, and it flows naturally into every other space. Well thumbed cookbooks, stained with spills, and layered with penciled notes from generations of users, can be found in every room. Black cast iron pots and skillets hang from hooks, and bins of flour and dried beans line the walls. A huge, sturdy table is home to canning and baking projects, card games, hearty meals, and political meetings. Something is always cooking at Malcolm and Sue's, bubbling on the stove, baking in the oven, or cooking in the social activism of their community. A large screen door swings open into the garden, and the boundary between outside and inside is further blurred by the fresh cut flowers, the dried bouquets, and garlic braids hanging everywhere, the bushels of plums and tomatoes, the baskets of onions waiting here and there. I love to eat and visit at Malcolm and Sue's. All of these homes begin with a physical area that is merely given. The raw space is a shell, inert, determined, simply there. What happens next is an act of choice. Life is breathed into these settings by people who have certain ideas in mind, specific beliefs to enclose, and that's what makes each more than background, more than floor and walls and ceilings. That's what makes each a whole ecology of intention, the human embodiment of thought and value. All human environments have some idea, some belief worked up in them. Responsibly and self consciously or not, some people set out with specific ideas to create particular environments, but it works the other way as well. We can look at a space and deduce ideas and beliefs from it. The space is a visible container of human action, at times oppressive or liberating, beautiful or ugly. Environments tell us what to do. When I began teaching, I used to take groups of kindergartners to the airport to watch planes take off and land. Now, the concourse in any airport has a powerful message for all of us: move this way, keep moving, move rapidly. But to a 5-year-old, the concourse says, run! It took me 3 trips to realize that my instructions, stick together, hold hands, don't run, was trumped by the environment. I was literally overruled by the dominant environmental voice. Run! What does your environment say? How could it be improved? The most taken for granted, sanctified common sense and commonplace features of life in school carry messages about important issues. This is how people learn. This is how people think. This is the nature of knowledge. This is what is valuable. This is what you should attend to. And these messages constitute a major part of what is learned and what becomes assumed about school. Why do children change grades each year? Why is the day divided into periods? Why are math and science separate subjects? Why are the children lining up in the hallway? Why is the teacher standing in front of the class doing most of the talking? And why are the students sitting at their desks most of the time, seeming to do nothing at all? The more aware we are of our thoughts and goals, the more responsible we are for our values and beliefs, the more intentional we can be in creating spaces that speak and work for us. Students tell us their experiences of the environments we create in provocative ways. I saw a 9-year-old friend recently dragging himself slowly along the hallway, looking defeated. Where are you headed? I asked. Reading, he replied glumly. But I said you love reading. He was carrying 2 magazines, several comics, and a dog-eared book. Yeah, he said, but not reading. School reading as a mechanical matter, held no allure, even though he clearly enjoyed reading for other purposes. School had somehow turned things upside down. Kids understand that school is about crowds. There's no privacy and there's little individuality. That's putatively good for the group. Had better be good for me. What's putatively good for the group had better be good for me. The schedule is in charge. There's a time to eat and a time to go to the bathroom, and we all go together. The intercom arbitrarily crackles on, and whatever we're up to becomes unimportant. It's essential that we all hear about the double parked car or the changed bus schedule right now. In school, authority is established and learning about hierarchy becomes crucial. Democracy is talked about but not practiced. Issues of larger community interest are rarely considered and never acted upon. In school, a high value is placed on quiet. Is everything quiet? The superintendent asks the principal, and the principal asks the teacher, and the teacher asks the child. If everything is quiet, it is assumed that all is well. This is why many normal children consider what kind of intelligence is expected and what will be rewarded here. Become passive, quiet, obedient, and dull. The environment practically demands it. Kids see in school that learning is linked to age more than anything else, and the growth, development, and wisdom are neatly divided into 9-month units. They figure out that knowledge is cut into disciplines, disciplines into subjects, and subjects into units of study. The day is broken into short periods, even in the early grades, and each period is devoted to a specific subject. By the 5th or 6th grade, they're typically traveling from class to class every 40 or 50 minutes to be taught by a subject matter specialist, presumably a mathematician, a scientist, a writer, or a scholar of literature. Bells ring, science books are put away, people move about, and math books come out. Kids discover that adults see learning as bit by bit, every bit lined up in a series. After 200 days of schooling, each student will have added 200 bits of math, 200 pieces of science, and 200 slices of literature, and so on. Successful students learn to line it up. Okay. Questioning everything in the environment from the bottom up is an important task for teachers. We cannot necessarily change it all, but we can certainly become aware of the messages, the hidden as well as the obvious, the commonplace as well as the gaudy. We can peel the cover back a bit, peek underground, disclose the undisclosed, at least for ourselves. And in telling what is untold, we can be stronger in shaping our own environments until they become places that more fully reflect what we know and value. We can encircle what we know about learning, embody what we value about wisdom, comprise an ecology of learning. We can become better at creating what we intend for ourselves and for our students. If I'm aiming to create a classroom where kids are eager to be, where they hate to leave, where I finally have to whisk them out the door, what would I do? If I want to build a community of learners, a space kids would sometimes find more interesting than the playground or the basketball court or the street, how would I proceed? What would it look like? How would it be designed? What would its boundaries and its possibilities be? A child running into my preschool classroom would see a huge collection of wooden blocks organized in a large fenced loft space, accessible up a ladder through a small hole, or along a stairway in the corner. She would be invited to build. Under the loft, she would discover a dress up area stocked with materials and prop boxes, milk cartons where children pull out specific items to create a make believe hospital, pizza, restaurant, shoe, store, bakery, firehouse, and so on. The dress up area would feel cozy and home, like hidden and impenetrable, a place to explore and experiment. If she wanted to work in another area, she would find paints, clay, water, sand, and art materials set up and available in a corner near the sink. She could use something from the large collage table on wheels in one corner. A series of bins containing bits of cloths, shells, buttons, bottle caps, and corks, with small trays for getting what's needed and transporting it to the tables. Other youngsters would likely be involved with games, table blocks, dominoes, checkers, chess, and manipulatives, materials taken from the open cubbies, close to the table and within easy reach. I want this space to say explore, experiment. In a classroom for older kids, I've arranged 3 computers in one corner next to a large looking loom where weaving is regularly going on. Pinhole cameras share a shelf with home video equipment. The walls are decorated with images of women in non-traditional roles, children in interesting or unique situations, African American and third world party people engaged in productive work or interesting play. A large corner defined by a big couch, easy chairs, and a patch of carpets serves as a library where youngsters can find a range of reference books as well as a good collection of children's literature. We have a convection oven, a small refrigerator, and a hot plate on one counter for regular snack making and other cooking projects. On the chalkboard, I have copied a series of questions that are becoming focal points for this group. How do we know what we know? What's the evidence? How has it changed over time? How does it connect to other things? What difference does it make? The questions are surrounded by a thick chalk border with the word SAVE printed next to it. I want the messages to be about respect, curiosity, and critical reflective habits of mind. In a classroom in the detention center, we play classical music tapes on the boombox during work time and then allow the kids to put on rap during breaks. We have a set of weights in an ante room so the students can lift, something they love doing. During choice time, and we always have clay and a potter's wheel, a small kiln, and a lot of art supplies and tools. Student projects dominate the windowsills and countertops. All students have a box of books that they take to a classroom down the hall when they become reading buddies to a group of shorties. Also in the box is a list of literacy activities to do with younger kids and forms to evaluate the reading progress of the buddy as well as their own work as mentors. I want this room to call out to students' creativity, adolescent energy, social responsibility, and goodness. In my classroom from preschool to graduate school, the work of students always adorns the walls. Stories and essays, charts and surveys, big projects and little projects are always in sight. In kindergarten, I cut outlines of each child's body from butcher block paper and asked them to paint and decorate their own images before suspending them from the ceiling. I asked college students to create reflections of themselves as teachers using construction paper, paint, clay, and found materials. These too go on the walls. I like children's art and I think it brings a space to life. I also like the less spontaneous, more self-conscious efforts of adult learners. In either case, students are themselves reflected in my classrooms. They see their ideas helping to shape the environment, and they see that it's my job, but not mine alone, to design the space. They see their work publicly displayed and valued, and they become more present and more visible to me and to one another through the acknowledgement of the products of their thoughts and labor.